Good afternoon, everybody. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bennett Croswell, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all to what I believe is going to be a very special all-hands event. We have some truly extraordinary guests here today who are going to present to you what I believe is a very inspiring and uplifting story. So I think we all know that on Monday, our nation will celebrate its 235th birthday. And throughout those many years, we have a distinguished history of many brave men and women who have defended our nation and our freedoms in battle. But we as a nation also have another history, and that is a history of healing and reconciliation with those who were formerly our enemies. Those who were once our foes become our friends as we all strive to make this world we live in a better place. So today you will hear just such a remarkable story. I am pleased to welcome our guest, Brigadier General Dan Cherry and his wife Syl, and Hong Mi and his family to Pratt & Whitney. Also very happy to welcome John Stiles, who flew with General Cherry in Vietnam and who is also present today. So before we move forward, I'd also like to recognize and welcome two people who are an important part of the Pratt & Whitney family, General Fig Newton and his wife Eloise. As you all know, Fig served as Executive Vice President of Military Engines after a long and distinguished Air Force career that included combat service in Vietnam, multiple combat commands, as well as becoming the first African-American Thunderbird pilot. So to introduce our guest speakers, would you please join me in welcoming to the stage Fig Newton.
Thank you. Thank you so very much, and indeed it's a real pleasure to be back home with you here in Military Engines. It was just great as I walked in the door and found many of my friends and colleagues that I had the opportunity to serve with here. And once again, you always welcome Eloise and myself back with such warmth and open arms, and I keep seeing more folks that I had an opportunity. They taught me all kinds of things about engines. You know, before I worked for Pratt & Whitney, I only knew a few things about that kind of system. You push the throttles up, it goes fast. You pull it back, it goes slow. And if you do strange things, it'll shut down altogether, you know. That's the part we didn't like very much. Again, it's a real pleasure to be back. Thanks all of you for coming. I joined with Bennett in saying I think you're going to hear a very inspiring message here today, and particularly as we approach our nation's birthday, as Bennett mentioned as well. Makes it very, very timely. I get the distinct pleasure of introducing a gentleman that he wished that I was not up on the stage. It's because I've worked for him before, and all of a sudden I have the mic and he doesn't for the moment. But he reminded me early this morning that, Newton, remember, I get the microphone after you, so I guess I must be somewhat careful. That gentleman is General Retired Dan Cherry. You heard his name mentioned just a few moments ago. General Cherry and I first met in the 76 or so time frame when I was already flying with the aero demonstration team, the United States Air Force Thunderbirds, and he was applying as the commander leader. If I'd known then what I knew now, we probably wouldn't have selected him, but I didn't. So Dan became the commander leader in 1977. I had the distinct pleasure of flying in the slot position directly behind him. He has a long and distinguished career in the United States Air Force. You'll hear more about that. I served in the Air Force for 29 years, did a whole host of things to include 2 combat tours in Vietnam. Flew the F-105 with our Pratt & Whitney engine. Matter of fact, I think it's one just like that one sitting over there in the F-105. Then was back in the F-4 Phantom. You'll hear more about that story again. Dan has a terrific history and awards, has Distinguished Service Medal, 2 Silver Stars, a whole host of distinguished flying cross, as well as a host of air medals. After that, again, he came and served the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Team as a team leader. And then from there, after retiring, he went to Kentucky, served in state legislature there, and was a Secretary of the Cabinet of Justice, and was inducted into the Kentucky Aviation Hall of Fame in October of 2000, which Jim Janetti and a few of us had an opportunity to go out and attend. Boss, I welcome to the stage Dan Cherry, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Fig. And ladies and gentlemen, it's just wonderful to be with you today. It's great to see Fig again, and I'll have a little bit more to say about him later. As you can tell, we have a very special relationship, and you know, it's when you have someone that works for you and then they go on to make 4 stars and far more rank than you ever even thought of, it kind of changes things a little bit, but not very much, not very much. But again, delighted to be with you today and to tell this story of friendship and reconciliation. In many ways, it is a war story, but it's much more than that. It addresses basic human needs of moving on from the past, reconciliation, closure, the futility of holding grudges, all those things that all of us human beings, at least subconsciously, strive for and need in our lives. And so I'm looking forward to relating this amazing experience with you today. Now, I can't tell this story alone, and so I have a very special friend I'm going to introduce now that will help me tell the story. His name is Nguyen Hong My. He is from Hanoi, Vietnam. He is a pilot first class, Vietnam Air Force. Please a warm Pratt & Whitney welcome for Nguyen Hong My. And assisting us today with the translation is a wonderful lady from Monterey, California. She's a college professor and a linguist, and her name is Tang Huong. Please welcome her. Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Hong My to say a few words of greeting to you all. Hong My.
Very happy to visit your country. I want to speak English, but I cannot. I can speak Vietnamese, and my translator hand me. Thank you. Trước hết cho tôi gửi lời chúc sức khỏe tới tất cả các bạn, tới gia đình các bạn, một sức khỏe dồi dào và một niềm hạnh phúc lớn lao, và chuẩn bị đón ngày độc lập của Mỹ rất vui vẻ.
Our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to send my best wishes to all of you here and your family members, and especially to welcome the coming July 4th.
Đây là lần thứ 4 tôi đến thăm nước Mỹ, và cảm giác của tôi là những lần thăm sau bao giờ cũng vui hơn những lần thăm trước.
This is my 4th time to arrive to the United States, and my feeling is that the more I come here, the happier I feel.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn.
Thank you so much.
Well, here's a brief overview of what we want to talk to you about today. I thought that in order to set the stage just right, I'll tell you a little bit about both of us, our life experiences growing up prior to our first meeting. Then we'll see a History Channel video that describes the dogfight that where we really actually first met. in some great detail, and I think you'll enjoy that, and it will help you understand the dynamics of aerial combat a little bit better. And then we'll describe what happened to both of us after that fateful day. Where did we go? What did we do with our lives and our careers? And then talk about in 2008 when we met face-to-face for the very first time. And then the double full circle that I'll save the details of that for you a little bit later. And then the message that we hope that you walk away here with today. Why are we telling